Okay, my name is James C. Scott Sr. They call me Scotty, Pop G. They never call me late for dinner because I eat it all. I've worked a many of jobs. Early father at 13. Took myself to court and found out what it's like to have a child and then turn around. You don't see that child till they're 22 years old because back in the olden times, it looked bad on the family. And they would make the baby and the mother disappear. Brothers, nobody would tell me nothing. But after 22 years, I was working at Social Security on Green Street downtown, and in which this is one of the most wonderful things that happened in my life. I'm signing in new employees. Young lady says, "Well, how you doing, Jimmy?" Only two people called me Jimmy. That was my mother and the mother of that baby. And I asked, I said, "Where's my baby?" She said, "Well, where's the support payments?" I had to ask her where was the forwarding address because they never had one. But one of the key things to that was, she said, "Well, she's working up my dominant motor vehicle." I let her know I only seen my daughter one day of her life. The second day she was gone when she hit the streets. And I said she was working on my dominant motor vehicles. And I said, "You let her know I don't wear this gun, nightstick, and cufflinks, and all of this type of stuff. I got street clothes, but I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna know my kid when I see it." Walked around in my dominant. About an hour later, I'm coming down the main escalator where they got the ponds in the main part of the mall.
Right.
Young lady coming up. Now I'm high all over. She had a little light mustache, sideburns. But then I looked at her and I tweaked this big bell pepper nose of mine. And she looked at me, all she could say was, "Daddy." I said, "The only one you got." I asked her, and then her husband came up, introduced himself. His name was Reggie Jackson, along with my granddaughter that I had first never seen. And I asked her, could she take off? She said, "Why? I got money in escrow for you." I had worked with a city job, 16 years. Then up Madonna, hustling with my wagon from the market the first 4 years of my child's life, not around. Then I worked for Social Security from 6 to 2. Go ahead.
So I was gonna ask you, so like I guess starting off, so you from Baltimore?
Baltimore, Maryland.
So what part of Baltimore did you
I was up by Eastwood Park, Bentlow and Baker. That's on the west side.
West side, okay. Cool. And that area, then what was it like when you were coming up? Like
when I was coming up.
And how long were you in that area? Like
I was in that area from 1959 to 1970, in which it was a good area. It was tight. Kids could play football, run track.
And so 1959. So when was the Martin Luther King riots and all of that?
That was in 60. I believe it was in 64.
And how did that impact?
Well, I can tell you, it impacted me a whole lot. Mainly, I was young and everything, but my uncle, that's right up here where we're at, and you're up here in Wilmington, Delaware. Further up the road, down the road, it's called Northeast Maryland. My uncle was the president of the NAACP. I had the opportunity with my cousin going to get model cars in Northeast in their town. And we coming back, it was getting dark. We took the back way. We seen Ku Klux Klan burning crosses out in the woods having their meeting.
And that's what, Rising Sun, like that?
Right there in that area. It was on Red Fox Road.
Yep, yeah.
And then turn around when we made it back to the house, because we went back to the dark road to take, because we wasn't going to go there because we probably wouldn't have still been discovered. But the thing about that was, when I told my uncle, and my father was up there with me, he called up the members, and the white members too, of the NAACP, and they went up there. We stayed home. They didn't pack no guns, but when they circled the Ku Klux Klan, they ran. They didn't like him because he was an engineer for the railroad, engineered making that bridge over here where the train goes across the Susquehanna. And I remember that same day we looked at that bridge, we went fishing. But that was one of the life learning experiences. I didn't understand the killing of Martin Luther King, but as I grow older, I started going into the history of different things like Martin Luther King, Dick Gregory, Malcolm X. But it's, like I said, my grandfather, he lived to be 110. We married at 100. He would always ask me, what is your reason for being here? I mean, from a toddler all the way up to his deathbed.
Yeah. Wow.
He said, well, you don't know, I gotta let you know. One reason for being on this planet, to learn. The more you learn, the more access you have to other things.
Right.
But that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And also, one thing that was a good point in my life, you really ain't got to ask me no question because you know I'm going to run on them. But I had the opportunity to sing with what we call the Shewak group, like Temptation, Dress Alike, Do Steps, and we had a 13-piece band. We won a citywide talent show at the Royal Farms Arena, which we used to call the Civic Center. We came in first place, and the first place prize was to open up with Jerry Butler, Linda Jones, Bill Medley, the Righteous Brothers, and little Stevie Wonder. One of the most magnificent things I found about that, when we was coming on to start the tour, which was going to start in Baltimore, Howard Street, where the light rail runs up there now, that's where the bands had to come in.
Yeah.
But we got there early because we was first. We knew we had to set up and get a sound check.
Right.
But the thing about it, when they said Stevie Wonder's bus was coming up, man, I got so happy.
Yeah.
We all crowding at the door. Now his cousin's leading them, and he's holding on to his arm. When he got to the Howard Street room door, it's one step, then you take about 3 steps forward, then it's 2 steps. Stevie thought it was 1 step. Fell flat on his face.
Oh, man.
Flat, but you know, he did something and said something that made me see he was a human just like anybody else and had a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Grabbed his glasses, put them on, and he said, damn, I ain't even see that. But that's the thing. Through that whole tour, the second city, I was up in his dressing room. And I said, you know, in this business, or this entertainment field, what do you have to do to be successful? He said, I couldn't see it, but I knew it the way they kept coming back. When you can hold a person's attention, and then you can hear the people say, well, we'll be coming back in another couple months, then you start selling out, that's when you know you made it. But don't let that go through your head. Always be a person. And that's where I ran it off from.
Yeah, man, wow. And so, going back to the riots, did that have any impact on your neighborhood, like, or like?
Oh no, not even. Especially with my mother and my father, they were very stern.
If it's too hot, we can. If it's too hot, we can go back.
I know how to leak, man.
All right,
But look at that hawk.
That's a hawk. Yeah.
I already know, man. I seen him. But turn around with my mother and father, very strict. Father was a deacon in the church. My mother was an ordained minister. It was times, and I'm going back to the group, if we had a show on a Sunday, I couldn't be there. And that was something I had to respect.
Yeah.
They canceled the show because I couldn't be there. I was like the monkey of the group. I always took lead on things, taught them the steps, worked with the band.
Wow.
But with the thing with the riot, the only thing that upset me was up on North Avenue near Pulaski Street, where the blacks was destroying the black stores.
And that's what I wanted to ask. Like, so the neighborhood that you in, it was a predominantly black neighborhood.
It was predominantly black, but we had Jews and we had whites.
Right.
And then we had, the Koreans hadn't even started coming into the United States then. But we did have black-owned stores.
But that impact that the riots had, did you see did it ever, recover from that?
Oh yeah, I did.
No, I mean,
did they ever? Yeah, most of them did.
Like,
the majority of them did because we had neighborhoods that were put together. We supported our black store owners.
Okay, yeah.
More than we did as far as with the Jews, because the Jews had a thing back in the day, and your grandmother could probably tell you, you would put your money in their hand and they throw the change on the counter. That was disrespect to me.
Yeah.
I was about maybe 13, 14, but I'd give them the money, and then they throw the change on the counter. Then I go back out the store, I get $1 out of my pocket. Oh, I forgot something. I asked them, I want some of them Snickers, and throw the money on the counter. And then I put my hand, cup it, and say, you can put my change in my hand. They caught my message. But that's the way I kind of fought back. I was young, I didn't know nothing.
Yeah.
But I just hated to see us go through so much trauma in that time.
So I was asking about the like North Avenue, like the impact of the riots, because a lot of times people say that like, you know, after the riots, that was when like the downhill, I guess, the downturn of like those like areas, because North Avenue, like that was a nice, you know,
It was a nice area.
So what point do you think it
It started after. This was probably a year after the riots, because people weren't getting the support that they really needed, and they had to either go bankrupt and shut down. Gotta wet my whistle.
Yeah.
But one of the best things that I've seen during the times of the riots, and then I can say the next time I seen it was with George Floyd. We had unity back then.
Yeah.
But there was such a big gap between the riots that they had then and to George Floyd. Black lives matter, all lives matter, white lives matter, but they was going for the whole struggle for everybody.
Yeah.
And that was something, it was peaceful protests back in the day, but you never could have them, not now.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I guess like at what point did like the drugs hit, you know, like North Avenue, like those areas, like was that maybe the impact that like, you know, changed the way that things, you know, like how it was?
As
like,
far as North and Penn?
Like the quality, yeah, right, because North and Penn is like, you know.
That's ground zero.
Yeah. So,
but I'll say this.
But what did it look like, you know? And
back in the day then, there were drugs around, and there were people that I knew that was kingpins doing that. But it wasn't a thing of hustling against each other.
Yeah.
And these guys put back into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
They did things for Christmas, for schools.
Yeah.
If they knew a family was hungry, they'd do market for them. But these kids now, all they want to do is get the money, show off, and stay home living with mama.
What's his name?
Lil Melvin?
Yep, yeah, Lil Melvin. So it was like a...
Melvin Williams.
Yep, yeah.
Knew him personally.
Really?
When I was about 9 years old, coming from church, we had to walk, we looked like walking through Easterwood Park, and they had then a softball team, and they had that underhand fast pitch. Melvin Williams was the best pitcher I ever seen.
Yeah, wow.
He would throw that ball down there, it looked like a blur, but he was striking them out.
Yeah, man.
But when I then met him, this was the time when I was working for that recreational program, Operation Champ, in which we had set up in the different neighborhoods where we would have games on the truck, volleyball, basketball, little rides for the kids, quiet games, music in the streets, trampoline from 8 to 4, and that was free. We was in the 1500 block of Madison Street, down in the Madison and McMecken. Melvin stayed in the next block with him and his mother had a place up there. And we was out there, and he said, man, Shorty, y'all singing tonight? I said, yeah, our band will be up here. Could you sing a song for my moms? I said, yeah, I got that.
Right.
Turned around that night, we set up the stage, and every night, because we would have over 600-700 people on the block, unless we was in Cherry Hill, then you got 2,000-3,000.
Wow.
But with that, all of this was free.
Yeah, that's
federally funded
that
program.
Couldn't happen like that. It don't happen now. You know.
You know, it could happen now, but you have to have not just local. All we had was local. The most we had was Stevie Wonder when he came up with the thing about Martin Luther King's birthday on Winchester and Wheeler. But the thing about it, for now, you would have to have the types of high-ranked entertainment that's out there that's sending a message about the killing, about the drugs.
And that's what I wanted to get back to. So, Lil Melvin, he had like a story where it was like a young guy that he must have did something in the neighborhood.
Right.
And like, he was like sort of just, you know, speaking on like the structure of like how, you know, the drug business was handled, like, you know, back then.
Yeah.
So it was a scenario where like, he had, they must have went to like the kids' like parents' house,
right.
And they were like they talked to the parents, and he was pretty much like, hey, look, like your son's a roach. That's what he said. Your son's a roach, and it's either you're going to handle him and send him somewhere, you know,
right.
downstate, or we going to handle.
I already know. And the fellow they talking about, well, his nickname, he's dead and gone. His name's Bunky. But Melvin controlled that so well, and I realized Melvin had so much money. He didn't count it, he had to weigh it. When you see 4 or 5 duffel bags of money, first time I seen it, I got scared to death. Went back and sat in the car. I didn't want to be around it.
Yeah.
I knew what was going on, but then I didn't. But then Melvin taught me something. He said, anything you do in your life, if it's a chance on doing it, it's got to be 100% chance, not 99.9. With that other little point saying you may get caught, you will get caught.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to Melvin.
Man, yeah.
He took chances.
And like now when you think of Baltimore, it's like no structure. At least that's what it seems like. As far as,
None
like,
whatsoever.
Everything that's going on.
No, it's haywire. And then the younger kids are the ones that's changing the game.
Yeah. Yep.
They will tell on their mother
Yep. Yeah.
to stop. And that's the thing that's so wrong. And they're so bold. They got more guns out here, high-powered guns that these 15 and 14-year-old kids have than the police.
Man, yeah, I've seen some people with some like assault rifles and all that.
Come on, man. Come on.
Stuff.
And they get it just like buying a pack of M&Ms because they flowing that money like that. And when you get that money, then you get that power. Then you forget where you are.
Yeah.
I did it one time at Social Security. I'm selling weed. I'm selling coke. The fella that brought the film in to develop for them 2,500 employees in there, where he charged them $7, $8, me and him was in the service together. And the man told me, all you gotta do is bring me $2 every $3. Every day, I had at least 20 rolls of film, or 5 to 10 each throw. Selling coke, didn't have to touch it. One of the guys that worked, one of the main engineers, he said, man, you think you could do this? I said, yeah, I'll meet you up on Martin Luther King and Saratoga Street. He gave me a pound of weed. I took church envelopes. I put them in the envelopes as nickel bags. At 11 o'clock, after 8 o'clock when I hit the floor, I wasn't touching it, but each entrance had what my product was there. 12 o'clock, it was gone. Then I could tell him, no, you don't front me nothing. I want a pound of that. You did it like that? Then, with the weed, the coke. I had one employee, co-worker. My brother-in-law was the captain. He turned around. My co-worker got married on a Friday. That Monday, he wasn't planning on going to his honeymoon until that following Friday. He said he would come in on the work. He came to work. He called home. And my brother-in-law answered the phone. He said, man, me and your wife busy, and hung up on him. He got drunk before he came on duty.
Yeah.
Me and the Jamaican guy was in the locker room. He said, man, yeah, I don't hear that shit about Bernard. None of them motherfuckers with him ain't nothing. I said, Tony, let's go. We left. Turn around. The captain on duty, because my brother-in-law was off, he said, Scott, you got to come upstairs to the control room. I go up there. He said, Scott, you know anything about Buster's check? Everybody in that office know and kept their mouth shut about what I was doing down there. He had a check for $430. I didn't want no part of it.
Yeah.
That wasn't enough for me. I said, no, I don't know. Come on, you want to search me? He said, no. He said, I said, well, if you're going to have Buster work and he's drunk like that, I'm taking my gun off. Because he's not supposed to come on duty like that, and that'll be your fault. He said, Buster, take the day off. Buster said, all right. He milling around at the front desk at Social Security. Guy called me, said, give me a 21, post 7. I gave him a 21, which was a phone call. I said, what's up, Avon? He said, Buster told somebody, he said that he gonna be at the front door and what time you get off. I said, enough said. Enough said. In between that time, I'm standing in the back of the lobby, just trying to watch what's going on. And I see Baltimore City Police come in there. This is federal installation.
Yeah.
And the guy tells me, you James Scott? I say, yes, sir. You need to show me the denominations of bills that you have on them. I had a nickel bag that a dude brought back to me, but I knew I could get rid of it, but I didn't think the police was coming. And in turn, I said, first of all, you call the federal police officers. Then I will let you see what I have in my pocket.
Yeah, right.
Turn around, 3 o'clock, hordes of employees coming off. They see the police down there, and they talking to me. Some of them knew it might have been about that. They didn't know, but they was assuming.
Yeah.
Do you know? I said, you know what? I tried my hand. I said, I'm going to show you what I got in my pocket. I reached around the weed and all that, put my money down, threw my hands up. No, put your hands up. I said, anything else? I said, he said, that's all the money you got? I said, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
He said, search my pockets. No, I don't have to do that. I said, okay, thank you. I said, no, ain't no thank you. I want your supervisor's name, because Gerald was working down there at that time. I want your supervisor's name. I want him to come up here, and I want him to I'm going to tell him just what happened. He turned around. Okay, called the supervisor. White cap come walking in the door. He said, you need to apologize, and I want a written apology.
Yeah.
I put my shit back in my pocket.
Yeah.
I made a call to a friend of mine, one of Melvin's lieutenants, and I said, front desk, right across from the Exxon station, he has on the uniform that I wear, mister. He knew who it was, he knew my voice. I said, I need to touch him. Don't hurt him, just touch him. I watched that front door, buses and traffic going by. In a blink, he disappeared.
Man.
He said the Eagle landed. I said, I'll see you when I get off at 5. Went up there. He has 2 rock wallers. Had him tied in the basement. Them rocks were that close to his face.
Wow. Gee.
And turned around. I looked. He was wet all the way down from here. As I got closer, and he didn't hear me. I could smell he shitted on himself.
Yeah.
I whispered to him, the next time, you ain't gonna live through this. Fucking with me is like going to court. You don't know how you're gonna make her bust up.
Yeah.
He resigned that Saturday.
Man.
Never came back. A New York boy. But that's one of the scenarios that went on in my life.
Yeah.
I got too many. I got too many. But it's just things that happen in my life. One of the main things was that we had was with my mom's when she took sick in 2015. I'm the only boy, the baby boy. My sisters, they came to see her when they needed. They was in the church and everything. I remember my mother saying when I was about 25, 26, she said, I'm gonna let Edna have the power of attorney because your older sister, she a little loose. But one of the main things that I could appreciate, I had a relationship with her. We talked every day. I wrote to John Hopkins, got off a sheet of ice. No buses, no cabs. Only thing they had was Hummers. I walked from John Hopkins Hospital to Ricerstown Road Plaza. Left at 12, didn't get there till 4 in the morning because I called my mother and got a busy signal. She got 3-way line. I get there, she said, what is wrong with you? I said, mainly, I couldn't get you on the phone, your line was busy. Come on in the house. I looked, ice on the branches, broke. That's why she didn't have no telephone line. And she said, you crazy. I said, well, if you're gonna beat me, beat me. You're the only mother I got. But I started noticing her coming down with the Alzheimer's, repeating herself over and over again, forgetting little small things. She could remember back when she was 5 years old, but couldn't remember the minute. The short-term memory is what goes. So I stuck around with her. I retired 2015 in September. I went to a house January the 15th in 15. I walked in, I yelled, gas man. She knew it was me. She said, come on in here. You know, you probably had your mother tell you to. Close my door, you letting my heat out. I go in, I go to turn around to close the door. I see my mother about to fall. I caught her. I took her up to Northwest Hospital. And I said, she's going through early stage of dementias and Alzheimer's. But they did discover she had colon cancer, in which I stuck it out with her. My sisters came to see her in that year. One time, that was because it was their birthdays, which it was close. She gave them $100 apiece. The second time, 2 weeks later, they coming because they got an $800 gas and electric bill. I told them straight up, I said, you know what? I ain't giving it to you, but you mama's POA. I'm not giving you mama's money. Right. I'm gonna give you $1,000. The other 200 that's left, go see your mother, she's dying. They went and seen her. And the night that she passed, that was where the structure came in my life. called me. It was a Friday. My birthday was on June 19th on a Friday. Never forget it. I was out there seeing. I bought her ginger ale, and she liked them payday candies.
Yeah.
And I bought her that, and we sitting out there, we talking and everything. I said, all right, Mama, I'll see you tomorrow. She said, no, don't come down here tomorrow. I'll see you Sunday. I said, why? A sick person can get another well person sick. Worrying, stress, mental, and physically sick. I said, okay, I'll see you Sunday. At 12:15, that Saturday, they called me, said your mother's heart rate is slowing down. In which I went straight down there. The neighbor next door, he drove the cab. I got there at 1 minute after 1, and turned around. Something that happened to her 10 years before she got sick. And I walked in the room, and the doctor told me, your mother stopped talking. I said, really? I said, that's okay. She can hear me now. She ain't gonna interrupt me. He laughed. I walked in the room, hey, sweetie, how you? Shook her head. I said, do you remember when you was outside the hospital and you had that umbilical cord where your bowels were backed up in you, in which you looked like you was 9 months pregnant? And I asked you one question when the doctor told me that you stood a 30% chance of coming out that surgery. I'm gonna see if I remind you what you told me. You said you know who you are, you know whose you are. My new address is Joy Everlasting, very religious, knew the Bible back and forth, and didn't even have to open it up to find the chapters.
Wow.
And I said, I'm telling you now, I know who you are, Mama. I know whose you are. You know what? Go home to that new address. Without talking for 2 days, she told me in my ear, I love you, Jimmy.
Wow.
And I said goodbye.
Man.
She died in my arms.
Wow.
That was the most memorable thing. But my two sisters, they go to church 20 days a week. Shouting, shooting, and all of this nice stuff. They didn't even come to her memorial service.
Yeah.
It was a hurting thing. But my mother said, all that hate that you give out on people, you'll never make it to heaven.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they say that, like, you know, you can be religious, but like you can be as religious as you want. You can, like, you know God and everything like that. But if you don't apply it, if you don't do the things that are
the natural things to do, man.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
I made some mistakes, but I asked for forgiveness, and He gave it to me.
Yeah.
And the next thing is, this is a new year for me. June 19th on my birthday, I surrendered from doing drugs for 44 years.
Wow.
Shot heroin, and then I was smoking crack. But I held my 2 jobs down. I never got tested. All of those things, never got caught. A lot of my friends didn't know. A lot of the family didn't know. But then the ones I wanted to know, I let them know.
Yeah.
Went to Prairie Point, stayed there for 4 months. Then I got out. I seen the struggle was coming back on me. I went to McVets with homeless veterans. I wasn't homeless. I had a place to live, but I wanted to be in custody of them.
Right.
And then I left that. That was 2 months ago because they have a manager over there. I think he's gonna talk to me like I'm a kid. I know I'm clean.
Yeah.
I made one mistake in the cafeteria. Guy was going out on his first weekend. I said, what you gonna do? My brother come pick me up. We're going to strip club. We're gonna take some pictures of them coochies. I said, they don't let you do that, man. They got a privacy act here in Baltimore. We're going to D.C. I said, dang. I picked my tray up, man. Instead of going to the left to go and dump my tray, I'm going to the right, about to go outside with my tray and leftover food on it. And I turned around, I said, Big Joe, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
He was the CEO behind me. Oh, you don't use that kind of language right here. You go to my office. I said, yes, principal. Took my tray back, went up to his office, didn't realize I left my backpack down in the cafeteria. Went back down there. Didn't I tell you to go to my office? Got to get my backpack. I have things in there. All right, get up there. Yes, principal. Went up to his office. He got to talking. We ain't gonna have that. A week before that, I escorted a guy to his niece's funeral. To make a long story short, I said, well, I got a funeral that I'm supposed to be singing at. You blew that. I said, okay, are you finished, sir? I didn't want to play myself and let these guys see how stupid I could act. I went to his boss, Mr. Fraser, under him, Mr. Fraser. I said, look, Mr. Frazier, yeah, 2X. Believe me, you gonna miss me around here. He said, what you mean? I'm packing up, I'm getting out of here. I'm not gonna have your boss talk to me like shit. Simple as that. All of a sudden, all of the people that I thought that was against me, when they put it on that computer, I had 8 people to come upstairs to my bunk. Scotty, we help you, man. You ain't got to do this. You ain't got to go. A counselor that wasn't even mine. Mr. Scott, you got a good record around here. No deficiencies, nothing. I said, well, it's like that. But I'm not going to let none of y'all see how stupid I can get, because he done brought me to that brink. Yeah. And I rolled up. But through that program, it's done helped me. And another hard thing that it had to do was tell my grandson, I call him Willie, but his new name is Tree because he's so damn tall. I told him the second day I was at Prairie Point, hey, Pop G, I said, yeah, what's going on, man? My mama told me you passed the COVID test, but that was the first step. What's the second step? I said, Ethan, sit down. If you're not, sit down. I've been doing drugs for 44 years. Not around you and Amaya and Jasmine because I had to keep my mind straight. But he said, Pop G, no. I said, yeah. I was doing cocaine like crazy. Like crazy. I said, but the only thing, what do you think about that? He said, Bob T, I forgive you. God forgive you. And I said, there's one more person got to do some forgiving. He said, who? I got to forgive myself and leave that in the past. I still have people that judge me by that. I have a middle sister that does that. Me and my older sister, we embrace. She lost her husband, so did my middle sister. We went to her husband's funeral. There was just 2 boys. They didn't even have, my middle sister didn't even have her brother to get up and say nothing for his brother. It hurt him. I looked at the program. They didn't even have my name, my mother's name, and my father's name on his eulogy. It hurt me so bad, I had to call my daughter. She said, Pop, what's going on? I ain't heard from you today. Usually you call me early in the morning. I said, I went to the funeral. What's wrong? I told her about that. She said, well, first of all, people are going to judge you by your past and don't know that man upstairs holds you in his palm for the future. All the tears you shed, he's got them in a bottle. Right. She picked me right up. It's so many things, man. Like I said, you hear the line, and most of the time it's the wrong things, but then you can correct them so you won't do them again. I always say, you don't get burned by the same match twice.
So you mentioned drugs. So when, I guess, like, when was the first time?
First time I did some drugs, 1970, now I say 71.
So how old were you?
At 71, I was about 17. Okay. Because with the group and everything, I didn't do that. I smoked a couple cigarettes, but I didn't do that. I smoked some weed, and we was down on Vine Street, and I smoked that weed, coughed all over myself, and I got in a recliner chair upside down. We walked all the way from Baltimore and Pulaski all the way up to Easterwood Park. After that, then I started seeing different little things going on. I took acid.
So that was, so when you had your first experience with weed, like, was it like you enjoyed it, or like was it? It
was a controllable high. It wasn't like liquor. The first time I took a drink, I thought it was wine. I drank some old Granddad 110 proof, and I just pulled it up in my head and opened my throat, drank half of it. I woke up on the tennis court on Easterwood Park, rain falling down on me. But with the masculine, it kind of brightened things up. In California, it was the LSD, but in 1976, I had the curiosity of seeing what it was like to snort dope. I snorted the dope.
So all right, so it was first weed, like, and so that was just like, like sort of social, like hanging out with friends.
That was it.
Like
it wasn't no everyday thing.
And then you went to California?
I went to California. That was when I was in service, right? And we got some LSD.
Was that the second thing that you tried, or
no? LSD was the hallucinogen.
No, I mean, but was that the second thing after the weed, or was it something else?
It was the weed. Then it went from that to the acid, and then it was the LSD. And then when I came home around 1972 from Nam, I went on to do the heroin.
Yeah.
First started snorting.
So that was after.
Yeah, that was
after
around
the military.
74. I did that for a whole year until within 3 months I watched the guys on the job. They always going around Pop's house after work on payday, and they were really putting a needle in their arm.
So you went to Vietnam, or
I was scheduled to go to Vietnam, except they had to send me back because I was drafted illegally.
Yeah.
I was the only son, had a job making more money than what Uncle Sam was paying me, and then it was so harsh being the only boy. I wasn't supposed to have been touched. But I did that because I had a sergeant tell me, well, look, you gotta come in here. If you just stay for your training, your basic training, your AIT, you'll be out. If you can stay for 4 months, you'll get every benefit that we have. But getting back from that, then I went to the heroin and I started shooting.
Yeah.
I was a medic in the service. I knew how to do an intravenous shot, but I didn't want to do myself. I had him shoot me.
Yeah.
After then, that was from 76 until 1980. That's when I started smoking on that pipe.
Okay. Yeah.
I started smoking on that, and that was it. That was all.
Yeah.
And that was a done deal.
It wasn't like 86.
No, I started. I started from 76 to 80. That was just a heroin, and then from 80 to 20.
Because crack, that wasn't around until.
Oh, it was around.
Because they was calling it something else. It was like freebase.
They called it freebase.
Yeah.
You take the powder coke. You have several ways to cook it. You can use baking soda, water, and a pot, and drop it in there, and it forms like that. Then there's the quick fix. You could have a big globe tube, pour your powder in there, and get about this much, a cup full of ammonia, and pour it in there. Hit that bottle 3 times, the rock forms like that. But you have to be close in doing that. You have to sprinkle it down, get all of that ammonia out, because you'll kill yourself. I had a Puerto Rican guy, I watched him put a kilo of coke in a trash can, two buckets of water, and threw that ammonia in there, took a stick, a yardstick, came back with a basketball.
Jeez.
Yeah. And the thing about it, I knew people in that genre. I wasn't really spending no money on no crack till the later days.
Yeah.
Hey, Scotty, here, man, take his arm. Man, I ain't got no money for that mess. What's wrong with you? I'm giving this to you. I ain't asked you for no money. You did too much for people here in the city, and you're still a good person. They were my enablers. That's how it came off at me. But getting back with doing off of that and giving in, I feel good. I face a lot of people. I've been in those dens where I see so many other people. Man, you look good. What's going on with you? Where you been at? When they ask me where I've been, I can't tell you. I might want to go back. I want nobody to know where I'm at. Found out while I was away, I had another addiction. I had a sexual addiction.
Yeah.
I'm 13 years old, going through women out in the street, going through women down Social Security. And when I met her, I cut it off. She tried to trick me up. She just knew that I was out there doing something until she found out I wasn't. And I caught the apology. I said, you ain't got to apologize. The last woman I took to meet my mother was my first wife. That was back in 1968. Guess what? You the second. You don't take everybody home to meet mama, do you?
Right.
You already know. But that's where I was with that.
Yeah.
I still see some of them that I got a book. 67 women that I went through in my life.
Yeah.
Yes. Most of them was where she worked at. And she knew them and didn't believe it. I said, yeah, I'll tell you where they live at. Just what they do. Their specificity. I had a chance with a mother and daughter team.
Yeah.
That blew me up.
So what was your, how was it, just like you was good with words?
Huh?
So you was good with words?
No, I didn't have to throw up no words, because down there at the government building, I'm going to call it that, guys go in there. Now, we had maybe 60 on the guard force. Then you have the men that work with Social Security. That was about 150. Then half of them was gay. Then you got 25. 100 women in there,
Yep.
knowing the public can't come in there.
Ah.
They be having a ball. Oh, they'll say, look, check Scotty out. Scotty cool. He don't send you through no problems. He ain't trying to play you or nothing. But then I'm thinking, I'm getting these women because of me. I was the pass around, pal.
Yeah, they was.
I was getting, oh, yes, sir.
Trying
Well, he got work. He got work. But the thing about that, it was always one of the girls. They see me talking to one and they said, come to me. Why are you talking to Blanche over there? What's wrong with her? I said, the same thing I do to you, I do to Blanche. Let me ask you this. You go to Blanche and ask Blanche to point, just point which way I live. I'll give you my check for the month. And I was making $800 a week.
Yeah.
Carrying that gun. She said, nobody seems to know where you're, because I don't bring none of that shit home where I'm at. I stayed by myself, but I don't do that. But getting back to the mother and daughter, chick, older chick, we seen each other about 4 or 5 times. She said, I sure wish you could meet my daughter. I said, what's her name? Elaine? I said, really? I said, that may come. Her husband died of an overdose. Then our relationship opened up. Went up there, stayed at a place. It was about 7 o'clock. I hear the door come up. We laying in the bed. Oh, that's my daughter, Elaine. Oh, okay. Elaine, get yourself together. Here's the guy I want you to meet. She came in the door, and I looked at her. I said, Peaches. She said, Scotty. And her mother looking at both. I turned around. I said, look, baby, I ain't did no more with you than I did with her. You know I'm open like that.
Yeah.
Her daughter went to go out the room. She said, Mama, save me some. Mother said, girl, come on, take your clothes off and get in here. They wasn't touching each other.
Yeah.
But when you got a motherfucker sucking your balls and one sucking your dick, you reaching up trying to grab something and ain't nothing there. That's what it is. This is how I do. But then, those years before I met her, I just cut it all out. What made me do that?
That's what I was about to ask.
That's what I'm talking about. Your grandmother's brother. He,
Oh, yeah.
Mayo was a monster.
Yeah.
Baby John Silver. He was going through women like me. But the thing about it, when I seen that he was sick and they told me where he was at, I turned around, I went and seen him. I said, what's up, man? He said, man, I got full-blown AIDS. I said, well, look, we was in Mex together. We ain't kissing, we ain't fucking, we ain't shooting no dope. Give me my love like a man. He broke down. He said, man, I wish everybody knew about it. I said, well, we was medics.
Yeah.
It was just coming out there. But I'm just letting you know for real, whatever you need me to do. He said, I need you to give this letter to Ed Arthur. Okay, you can't get down there. I'll give it to him. Open it up. I said, that's what you Ed and God's experience with that. Open it up. I got 13 women's names on there. You better check to see if any of them women that you messing with was on there. I snatched that thing, Tim.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. Out of them 13 to this day, 2 of them are alive. Not that I kept up with them, but I know how they float and how they travel. But like I was telling a buddy of mine, back in the day they said you can have that HIV virus for 10 years and then it says, hey, I'm here to get you. No. I had a professor up at Johns Hopkins University. I was working in the library and he heard me and a guy talking about the AIDS and the HIV. He said, look, I got this book here. Just read this paragraph. And it was saying, you can have that HIV virus for 50 years.
Wow.
And then it will say, I'm here for you.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what made me back off
Yep.
of all of them women.
Yeah.
Street women, everybody.
Yeah.
Because that disease with the big letters,
Yeah.
it was killing them.
Oh, that's good. Man.
That's just half of the life.
Yeah.
We could do part 2 next time.
But I was gonna ask you,
Come on, talk to us.
we still going. LSD experience with LSD. Like, what was how was that? And how many did you do it multiple times, or was it just once? Or?
One time was enough for me.
Yeah.
We were We was at Fort Sam Houston, down in San Antonio, Texas, in which the weekend was coming up, and I knew they had a show called Stars and Stars, and we rented a TV in which they had Gladys Knight and the Pips on. They was on from about, I could say, 5 o'clock until 9. No commercials. And then Guy Panetta, he said, man, I got some LSD. Dude Nimmons from Cherry Hill, he said, Scotty, you want to grab a piece? I said, I ain't never did that shit. He said, it's just like a little sugar cube. And then in about half an hour, we on our way. I said, all right, man, but we had beer, had weed, because down there at Fort Sam Houston, $20 to get you a shoebox full of weed back in the day. So we were smoking and doing that, and then the LSD came, hit that, turn around, half an hour later, we looking at Gladys Knight, and I look over at the steps. It seemed like the steps opened up. And here's these 5 mice in green suits, stepping like the Temptations, doing their thing. Yeah. And we heard Gladys Knight and the Pips, but we was thinking that was them doing it. Do you know? That's what my buddy Nimmer said. Man, and look at the other little short one. He stepped better than the other ones. We were seeing the same thing in one trip. That ain't supposed to happen. I said, well, look, man, it's time to go.
You know, it's crazy. A lot of people, they say that they when they trip, they experience like similar, they have similar experiences, like depending on who you're with. I got a friend that does it, and he was saying that like it was almost like he was connected with the people that he was doing it with.
That's right. And as if he had communications going.
And it's almost like it makes you think, like sometimes you might have like those moments where you might think the same thought as somebody.
Yeah.
Makes you think like, are we connected on another level?
Yeah, what they call it deja vu.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
But that's how that went. But after that, and all of this trip, I'm gonna tell you, this trip seemed like we was in a jet plane going 2 miles an hour. Do like that, and then you come back down, and you look and you see. All right, how you doing, sir?
How you doing?
You look and you see. We at the airport, standing in line to get tickets to come back to Baltimore. Ain't nobody had no money. But in turn, Panetta was such a worker. He got us 2 tickets. We end up trading the tickets in, getting the money off of them, going back to the base. We stayed on that trip for 24 hours. That seemed like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's how fast it was. But as you hear people say, man, look at them people. They all on that dope and that crack. The crack and the dope was on them. Anything that controls you. I never had to hurt nobody about no drugs.
Yeah.
Never had to steal or do nothing or play nobody. But I did it my way. And I feel good. I got guys still call me from Prairie Point and also from Macbeth. Scotty, you all right? I said, call me on Duo, you'll see. Look at your ass, you got fat. You're looking good. When you coming down? I said, I got to stay away from there.
So, I guess we can sort of wrap it up, but I wanted to ask you, what's some advice that you would give your 17-year-old self?
My 17-year-old self?
What would you tell yourself?
You may think it's crazy. I do it again because I learned by my mistakes.
Okay, so then not you then. What would you tell the 17-year-old?
A 17-year-old?
Yeah, just some kid out there.
You don't want that trip. You don't. A lot of them I have talked to. I've seen some from up in the village. Gee, you look good, man. What's up? Stop that mess. One little young boy grabbed me. He said, man, you didn't belong out there. You always was by yourself. You hit, you run, you go. Nobody knew what you was doing. You could have been copping for somebody. I said, but it wasn't a trip for me. Too much hurt is involved. Not only with hurting yourself, but hurting the ones that you love. She got mad about it because she couldn't even notice it until the last final days, and that's when I told her. And I'm just glad. It's called forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it works out like that. That's what's up.
That's good. Well, thank you.
You got that.
I appreciate it.
Okay, now the next thing we'll go about is being a male whore. I thank you.